Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa and this is something a little bit fancy. This is the Art of XCOM 2 art book. I thought it'd be interesting, just to throw a video together on this just to show you guys what this is, because art books from games they're really nice collector's items, and especially when they're as good as this one. I mean, look at the Sectoid on the front. I mean, if that doesn't tell you, like, if this doesn't straight away give you an idea as to what the hell XCOM 2 is about and how it's way more sinister than XCOM Enemy Within, yeah. Anyway, let's open this bad boy and see what we've got inside. So, obviously we just got a bit of blurb on the go there, and the price, which this is of course 30 quid, so it's not cheap, but there is a lot of really good art in this. I think if you're interested in art design for games and stuff, it's probably worth picking this up. Anyway, let's get stuck into this. So, introduction, and obviously that's the contents page. These are really interesting because these are the loading screens. Whenever you load the game in XCOM, you get a propaganda picture. You can see they're almost like North Korean kind of thing going on. This is obviously the evil one for Advent. As you can see, the Advent soldier who has his face hidden. I wonder why that could be. And then you've got just these two human chaps who are obviously plebs to Advent control, which is terrible. Yeah. And then we've got a bit of introduction. One of the posters. Now, what this is, it's again propaganda, but this is to get humans into the beautiful Advent cities, which, yeah, are designed to lure humans in. And then we've got chapter 1, which is pre-visualization, which obviously is all of the pre-concept stuff before they actually were settled on the design of the game. And there's some interesting bits and pieces on this. Obviously, I'm not going to read off this text, but it just basically goes into detail on when they first started to concept out the XCOM 2 aesthetic, which actually was right towards the end of Enemy Within, which I find really interesting. As soon as they finished Enemy Within, they began work on this. So I'm going to skip over a lot of pages in this because there are a lot of pages, and I just want to give you guys a general overview. Because obviously, if you want to take a real close-up, detailed look at this, then, well, go and buy it yourself. It is quite nice. We've got like a bit of an alien facility there, an Advent torture chamber, which yeah, very nice. Not probably a place you don't want to stay. And then we've got these things. I find these quite interesting. So this is the pre-visualization stuff for the human male. So you've got like the different types of male. I guess the light is shining on that a little bit, so just hold the page up so you can see a little bit better. And remarkably, they do look like that in games. Some stuff looks a little bit different, which I guess is to be expected once the 3D models are made. We've got some of the armor designs. Crazy. Some of the unit style designs. I kind of like this because this looks like a 1950s sci-fi. It almost looks like it's come out of Fallout, and then you can see the 3D renders that they eventually make as a result. That is of course the chrysalid, which looks way more badass than it did in previous XCOMs because it's all spiky and it's bad news. Then we've got the Berserker. Actually, the Berserker is one of my favourite enemies because of the way this is animated in game is really good. Like, it charges towards you, but it's got a real feeling of like impact, like of gravitas. Like, it feels like it's going to slam into you, and it's crazy. Also, it's a massive wall of, well, muscle. This is the Muton as well. Now, the new Muton is slightly different than the older Muton. It's not as bulky, but it's just as dangerous. In fact, it's way more dangerous. In fact, all of the aliens in XCOM 2, they're not. And then we've got like a. Oh yeah, so here we go. Here's the Berserker killing somebody, which is not nice because if the Berserker gets into melee range of any of you guys, they die because he does that to them, and that is bad. Good God. But yeah, as I was saying, the aliens are very powerful in XCOM 2. It's not like in XCOM Enemy Within where you just, you were killing aliens for fun. They are, it takes full squad coordination to take them out. So now we're on to the environments. And the environments in the game are pretty good, especially the Advent facilities, which I do like. So we've got one of the cities, which is pretty good. And again, more information here, which again, I'm not going to read. Buy the book if you want to read that. Or just screenshot this. Another little bit of artwork for the Advent cities. We've got some of the architecture, the sculptures. very sinister. I mean, things like this here. This is one of the elders, so the aliens at the end of XCOM Enemy Within, when you kill them basically on the ship. And that must be a human. And they're sort of coercing the human through some sort of insidious mind control crap. Yeah. Bad news. Again, these, I really like these. These are the propaganda sort of pictures of the cities and stuff with the alien language on, which is, well, I really like those. They really nice. And we've got all of this stuff here, which is basically bits of like anti-propaganda. So if you look at the boot there with the skull, that's the sectoid skull being stamped on. That's like, you know, destroy the aliens. They're the XCOM symbols. And then this one is the fist slamming down into, and the XCOM slogan as well. So these are like the resistance ones. Really nice. Again, these would be really nice to cut out and have them as maybe frame them or something, because again, these are propaganda pictures for Advent or posters. And variations of these are used as loading screens as well. Then we've got some of the vehicles, which these vehicles look like, to me, they look like BMW concept vehicles. I'm pretty sure the BMW, I forget what it's called. It's the electric BMW, but I'm pretty sure it looks fairly similar to that. Concept cars always look crazy to me anyway. And we've got concept truck down there as well. Madness. And we've got a bit of artwork there with some Advent troops. Madness. I keep saying that, Madness. I'll stop saying Madness. It's like I'm an advertisement for the old band Madness. So we've got a security checkpoint. Inside one of their facilities, you can see, like, obviously the design they were going for, the aesthetic, this sort of red, insidious design. It almost reminds me of Nod from Command and Conquer, where you know it's bad. I mean, okay, red, it's a bad colour, right? Danger. But it's like insidious. It's like, yeah, dodgy experiments are going on around here, and ooh, a big crazy eye. And then, like, we got these chambers and madness, and there's like a guy in the chamber there, and then we've got guys in chambers or capsules on racks. It's all very sinister. More Advent. You know what, actually, when I was at high school, there was a time where I was really interested in architectural drawings and graphic design, that kind of design. So stuff like this, I really like looking at this. And in fact, a little known fact, I won an award for building a model for a corporate headquarters for, I forget, it was a technology company. It was called Aztec something, it was called. And it was obviously an Aztec-style futuristic pyramid, but I built the thing. Good God, I won an award for it. Amazing. To the top of an Advent skyscraper with some sort of alien antenna. I think what they've done a really good job of giving you an idea of... it looks futuristic human technology, but then you've got these bits of alien stuff attached to it. So you can see the aliens are very cleverly designing environments to make humans feel at home, but are they really at home? This is one of the resistance outposts. So these look very sort of ragged together, not very, you know, hastily constructed. Almost like a shantytown kind of vibe going on. Because obviously anybody who is in the resistance has to keep on the move, because you can't stay still, because if the aliens find you, they will kill you. And then we've got a little bit more of concept art of a map from one of the in fact, I think this is this looks very similar to one of the maps. Like, you've got things like the gas station, although it's like electrical energy they're putting into the cars, and other bits and pieces. Actually quite nice. I mean, it looks very very drab, doesn't it? Very sad, which it is. The aliens have taken over your planet. And we've got an interior of a small town building, and we've got other like little bits of buildings going on and stuff like that. Then we've got a diner and a bit of a pickup truck. Ah, yeah, one of the gas stations, although it's, as you can see with the electric bolt up there, it's not petrol anymore or diesel, it is totally electric. Because it would be. It's the future. It's 2035, I believe, XCOM 2 takes place in. Some more concept art there. Then we've got some of the foliage, which is pretty interesting. Because when you look through something like this, you realise just how much work is involved in designing a game and actually producing a game. Because this is just the art side of the game, nothing to do with the programming or any of that. And it's quite remarkable how close they have got to the concept art in the game. This is a UFO. You can see it's very similar to the design of the UFOs from Enemy Within, but it looks a bit more futuristic, which it would be, because the aliens would have advanced. Obviously, it's a smaller UFO, not a mental, massive battleship or whatever. So we've got an alien UFO room, which again, you can see the date on this, which is pretty interesting. So this was the 22nd of March last year. This autopsy room was done. So it's pretty interesting that they can get from that to actually designing the models and stuff within a year. At least I find that to be quite quick turnaround. I mean, it might not be. Like, I've got no experience in games design or anything, or even what's involved in it. But like I said, I do think looking at something like this does illustrate how much work is involved in producing a game. So we've got some like alien capsules and stuff. Renders of inside UFOs. Well, not renders, but concept art. More crazy alien vats and dodgy, sinister stuff. Like, I think it's interesting the difference in the design. So obviously in the alien vessels, it's all alien architecture and it looks very alien. Yet the aliens consciously don't put this out into the cities because they want to entice humans to actually go into the cities. They don't want to frighten them, do they? It's hard to control a population that's frightened of you. I think this is one of the ethereals. Yeah, it's an ethereal sarcophagus, which is like very alien. Very alien. Ooh. More concept for inside the interior of ships. This is alien equipment, so alien technology they've got concept for. I mean, I don't know what any of this is, but it all looks very alien. Alien! Oh, and here we go. So this is the aliens. Now, what I will say is if you're watching this video, there could be some spoilers now. Because this will show you alien types that maybe you're not aware of. So just take that on board. Because I don't really like spoiling games. And yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there just in case. So everything before that, it's not really a spoiler. You'd expect that stuff. But there are different alien types and stuff like that. So this is the Sectoid there. Vastly different than the Sectoid from Enemy Within. And it looks very sinister and evil and nasty and horrible. It's not a little cute alien anymore. It's pretty bad. So I mean, I'll just read this off because this does sum up, you know, what is going on with XCOM 2. So it says one of the first things game players may notice about XCOM 2 is that the aliens are much more terrifying and powerful than before. When you encounter aliens out in the field, your soldiers are not going to go toe to toe with them, says creative director Jake Solomon. In the past 20 years, they've grown very strong. The important thing about the aliens is that the soldiers are no longer a one-to-one match. There's no way to take on aliens without teamwork. And it's reflected in the design of the aliens. They look very powerful. It's not like, you know, oh, look, it's a sectoid. We'll just kill that easy. It's like, no. Oh, God, it's a sectoid. That is nightmare fuel, that is crazy. But you can see how they've gone through the different faces, the different concepts for the faces, and eventually they kind of come to the final design. But there are a lot of different designs. Some of these, like that, I'd say is probably, you know, it's not exactly that, is it? That is like, holy shit. Oh God. Now this is one of the newer enemies we've got here. This is the Andromedan. It almost, like, this to me, this looks a little bit weird. This almost doesn't look like what you'd expect the aliens to have. Because it looks like 1950s sci-fi, which I'm pretty sure is what they were going for. But yeah, it's yeah. And now this is totally new. This again, this looks like it's come out of Diablo. But what I mean by again is it's not what you would expect to be typical XCOM. From what I believe, this is the replacement for the I've totally forgot its bloody name. The flying thing, the thing that flies and shoots you with a plasma gun from enemy within. But it does look like it's fell out of Diablo, and it is called a Archon. The model to this in the game is identical. It's absolutely identical to what they've designed there. Insane. Then we've got the Berserker, which is like a massive wall of meat. That is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And you can see the things up here where they've got the concept for the face, like how it opens its mouth. Yeah. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. Ah, yes, the chrysalid. The you'll remember this from Enemy Within on the Terror missions where it absolutely kills everybody. It's more of a refined model, this is, I'd say, than the other models, where a lot of the other ones seem to be... Well, I don't know, the Muton is refined, I'd say, but like the Sectoid is a completely different model. Like, it's completely different to how it was. The chrysalid is similar. Still looks like one of the bugs from Starship Troopers. This is a new enemy. This is the Faceless. This is a... I won't tell you what this does, but it's horrible, it's horrific, and it looks exactly like its concept art, which is crazy. So what you've got here is these are the in-game rendered models. So, like, that is a rendered model. That's the rendered model of the Berserker. So, the big picture is the rendered model. So you can see how it's very similar. Like they haven't really deviated much from the concept art. It's insane. And then we've got actually these are the rough concepts for the Faceless. So you can see how they've gone from this sort of insectoid almost inspired design where you've got claws and things like that to this sort of liquid flesh design, which I think looks way more sinister. That looks sick. It looks ill, doesn't it? It's like, oh, that. Ooh. Whereas this kind of looks a little bit too insectoid. I guess they probably thought, okay, we do have a chrysalid. We don't really need another one. And then we get these crazy things. So these are Gatekeepers, which are wholly alien in design. I mean, look at that. They look like squids. That kind of looks like a fried egg. But madness. It says it again, madness. It really is a nice art book. I mean, I know I've seen art books before for games, but this really is quite nice. It gives you a really good idea of how they actually ended up with the design of the models and stuff. So this isn't a render. This is just the final design of the Muton. I mean, you can see it's not a render, but it looks very similar. But the Muton is slightly different. The Muton is more refined. It's not just a massive wall of meat now. It's more of a... it looks... I think it retains its powerful look, but it kind of looks more tactical. I think I prefer that to the other Muton from Enemy Within. And then we've got a couple of more Muton designs exploring a more form-fitting and integrated armor. This is the Viper. Now, this is the Thin Man. Most people who play XCOM will know that the Thin Men were based on the Vipers. I mean, they've got they've got snake tongues, haven't they? When you aggro them, but the Viper is from XCOM, and obviously the Thin Men don't need disguises anymore because you don't need an infiltration unit, do you, like that, if you own the planet. So they walk around like that, and they're very well, you can see kind of from this what they do in the game, which is bad news, especially when they start constricting you like that. That is really bad news. And again, it looks very similar to that in game. Okay, a couple of new enemies again. This is the Codex. This is a trans-dimensional being which fades in and out of reality, and that's its brain. Yeah. Crazed. Okay, so this is another A bit of propaganda, which you will see in the loading screens in the game as you load and save games. And we're going into the Advent design now. So you can see this is a pretty comprehensive art book. I mean, we're 121 pages into this. Pretty ridiculous. That's one of the Advent mechs, and that is a render, I believe. Oh no, it's final concept actually for the mech. That looks very similar to what they look like. Only they tend to have a massive rocket launcher on their back. Yeah. So you've got the Advent troop. This is the standard troop. This is almost like the sectoid of XCOM 2. It's the... they're not as deadly. Usually they're commanded by aliens, or they're commanded by Advent commanders, or captains, or officers, but they can still kill you. I mean, it's XCOM, right? They get a good shot on you, you die. And they... I won't spoil it, but there's a reason why their head is covered, let's say. They're genetically modified humans. Yeah. And then we've got the Shock Lancer, which is the melee variant of the Advent Trooper. We've got an Advent Shield Bearer and an Advent Captain. So generally you see captains controlling the Advent troops. Some heavier armor concepts. Again, some more armor concepts. And then we've got the... Well, you can kind of see there. I said I wouldn't spoil it for you, but you can see they look... questionable. So the aliens have designed armor to hide their features that don't look human. And there's another bit of Advent propaganda with one of the Advent Troopers, which do look really nice. They do look, well, sinister. It looks sinister, doesn't it? It's designed to look sinister. It's evil. It's insidious. It's... Wah. So there's one of the mechs again. Going through stages of concept drawing. The good old Sectopod, which is bad news when you see one of those. Some of the Advent dropships. Because the way XCOM 2 works is you're the aliens, effectively. So if you look at it that way, you're fighting against an established force, and they will bring reinforcements in during the battle. There are ways you can stop that and stuff like that, but they generally come in on dropships. It's bad news if a dropship comes in and drops a load of troops off. That will flank you and then you die. Oh dear. So more renders. That's actually the in-game rendered model there, with the wings retracted. These bits here are the engines. It's like a vertical takeoff lift. A VTOL system, I believe it's abbreviated to. One of the Advent trains, that looks like. An Advent truck. An Advent forklift truck, which looks a bit overly engineered. I find it kind of weird that they still use trains. Like they've got all this alien technology with UFOs and God knows what, yet they still use cars and trains. It's a bit... I don't know, you think they'd have hover stuff? That looks like an Advent VIP limousine and Advent patrol cars. Again, very futuristic looking. And we're into XCOM. Got some of the renders there. Oh no, are they renders? No, they're just concept art of what guerrilla-style XCOM troops would look like, because you're not a military organisation now. You're guerrillas. You're insurgents in the aliens regime. So it's not going to look professional, is it? It's not going to look super clean like XCOM looked through Enemy Within, because it was an internationally funded organisation with the best mankind had to offer. No, you're scrounging for equipment. Everything's going to look sort of dodgy. So what we've got here is Central Officer Bradford. Now, everyone knows who Bradford is, and obviously this is 20 years in the future, so he needs to look a bit more grizzled. Older, because he's 20 years older. Pretty good. And then we've got Shen, who is, of course, the daughter of Shen from XCOM Enemy Within. And you can see how she's been designed. Her in-game, like, she doesn't look nothing like that, but she does look exactly like this in-game. It's nice seeing some of the smaller details in the bottom left as well. We've got Tigon, who is the science officer, effectively, the research guy. It's interesting. I wonder why they decided to drop a beard from him, considering he's like a professor. You'd think he would have a beard. I think beards generally convey intelligence, don't they? And beards and glasses and things like that. Like from a aesthetic point of view, that is. I mean, I'm not saying if you've got a beard you're clever, because, well... some helmet designs and melee weapon stances and armor. And then we've got one of the gremlins, which is one of the... this is the specialist class. Gremlin is one of the... Well, it's a drone, basically, which you can use to do various things on the levels. Some silhouettes and stuff. The Exosuit Designs, which I really like that there are exosuits in the game, because the way the game goes is you progress through tiers of research, and it's not like, oh, suddenly here you go, here's a futuristic set of like plate armor. It's like, no, you get an exosuit, and you totally would. I mean, these things are under development right now. I think the US Army have got one of these and stuff like that, so it's totally feasible that they would be a thing. Make a soldier faster, make a soldier stronger. And this here is the heavy weapons mount, because the big thing with a mech suit is you can attach a heavy weapon to it. So you can have a rocket launcher or a flamethrower and possibly other heavy weapons. And then we start going into some of the more futuristic stuff. So as you start unlocking research, you start changing up the way your soldiers look, and they would look futuristic at that point. I think it's interesting we go from this, which is a very human sort of industrial design, to the very sleek style mech suits that the aliens have. Obviously, we're taking inspiration from alien designs, and then we've got things like the wrist-mounted weapon. You can see changes up, becomes more sleek, which they do say is obviously a conscious decision, I think, in the weapons section. Almost like the alien weaponry is like the sports car of the weapon world, so it needs to look sleek and smooth and fancy and all of that. So that's the Avenger. No, sorry, that's not... Is this the Avenger? Hang on. No, that's the Sky Ranger, right? Yeah. Yeah, so it's the Sky Ranger. I was thinking that's a bit small for the Avenger. The Avenger's the big ship that is your mobile base in XCOM 2. So that's the Sky Ranger. Again, looks a bit more futuristic, but also does look a bit ragtag, a bit sort of hastily put together. But we've got more stuff here. Concept for the Sky Ranger. The interior of the Sky Ranger. It's kind of interesting that they did have all these different designs for the Sky Ranger, yet they kept with a very traditional look. I mean, this is kind of very similar to how it looks in XCOM Enemy Within, but it looks a little bit more futuristic. You can see how it's got like exposed wires and cables and stuff. Okay, so what we're looking at now is the Avenger, and we've just seen that on the previous page as well. This is the mobile HQ. This is the alien vessel, which XCOM has commandeered, and they now use their mobile base. See, I'm on page 172 now. I mean, I've been going through the pages pretty quick, because I know we've got a lot of pages here to sort of go through. But I thought it'd be nice to actually just take a look at this and give you guys an idea of what actually goes into the design of a game, like the visual design of a game. So these are the weapons, and these are the standard weapons you start off with. Again, you can see they look very similar to the weapons from Enemy Within, where they've got this sort of grey industrial look to them. Kind of bony colour. And then we go into the Advent weaponry, which again is black and red, and it kind of looks like Nod from Command & Conquer, and very... again, sinister and dodgy. Then we go into the magnetic weapons. These are the... what this is using the technology from these magnetic weapons that the Advent use, and our original weapons. We've fused them into this. So we've got our own magnetic weaponry, which is basically the second tier of weaponry in the game. And then we start looking at the alien weapons, and you can see how these look completely different. The plasma weapons look very sleek. They don't look industrial. This is pretty interesting to me as well. This is, if you look at down the bottom right here, you've got the different designs for the wrist-mounted weapon on the Sectoid. And you can see how they went from like full arm designs to eventually going for this, because that's what it is in the game, to a small wrist-mounted device, which I think looks way better. It's sleek. The aliens are powerful, right? As technology gets more powerful, it becomes smaller, doesn't it? Miniaturization. Just look at our, well, I say just look at our mobile phones. They've got bigger, but you know what I'm trying to say. Processors get faster. There's more you can do, and as technology advances, you can do more with less space. So then we start looking at things like, I believe these are beam pistols. They look very futuristic, but this is XCOM's take on the alien weapon. So you can see there is a definite influence when you look at this. And then you look at this. It almost looks like a portal gun, the big weapon does. And we've got the sniper rifle. See, there we go. This is the quote. It says, the game's conventional weapon should... hang on. The game's conventional weapon should be feel grounded in reality. That's a mistake, isn't it? The game's conventional weapon should be feel grounded in reality and familiar. Then we can go crazy with magnetic weapons. We followed a tiered approach to the weapons. The weapons follow a more squarish rectangular shapes, while the beam would be the sexy sports car at the end of the tunnel. So it's like you can sort of see how they go for the shapes, but I'm sure that's a typo. That's a bit bad. Anyway, maybe it isn't, maybe I just can't read. So we've got gremlin designs. Again, you can see how it gets more and more sleek as it goes on. And the Cyamp, which starts off looking extremely dodgy and eventually looks like a refined piece of technology. And I think that's it. I think we've reached the end of the book. Yep, I think that's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that has been I think an interesting look at the, and this front cover. That's the stuff of nightmares. That is. I've got like little bits of resin on it because I'm doing it on my. If you guys don't know, I stream Warhammer 40k modeling from this setup, so I've got like bits of resin and God knows whatever. But yeah, guys, this has been a look at the Art of XCOM 2. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope it's given you a bit of an insight into what actually goes on behind the scenes with games development, especially with the aesthetic design of a game. Anyway, guys, I've been Stylist. This is Unit Lost. If you like the video, then do like the video. You can follow me on Twitter, which is @UnitLostGaming, and I'll catch you next time, people. Toodaloo.